I'm Mark Loux, Extension Weed Scientist at The Ohio State University. I'm standing in one of our greenhouses where we've been conducting screens of amaranth populations from the state of Ohio to try to get a handle on what types of herbicide resistance we might have in our populations already, and to sort of catch it as it starts to develop, as we get a new type of a resistance in a species, to try to remain on top of that. So all the pigweed plants, the amaranth plants that we have out here, have been collected from the state as part of a survey that we've done of a number of counties, and also these have been submitted by growers and agronomists. So we have Palmer amaranth in here, and water hemp, and redroot pigweed. Redroot pigweed tends to be the one we have the most of, just because we have the most redroot pigweed in the state, but it's the one we tend to have the least resistance problems with so far. So I'll just walk you through a couple of things and show you a little bit what's going on. Coming into 2015, prior to doing this screen, we had assessed a couple Palmer populations and found ALS resistance, but not glyphosate resistance, surprisingly, or FlexStar resistance. Our water hemp, we had found some glyphosate resistance, but a lot that weren't. They were essentially all ALS resistant. And then our redroot pigweed, no glyphosate resistance at that point, although we had sort of a hint of some, depending on the screen. And some populations that actually had both resistance to FlexStar or Promethazine group 14 herbicides, as well as ALS inhibitors group 2. So we don't have all the results from this screen yet. I'm just going to show you a couple of things that's going on here, and also show you some identification characteristics. So this is a population of Palmer amaranth right here, and we do have 8 or 10 sites of that in the state. Plants here are pretty typical, no hair, sort of a whorled appearance as you look down at them. Very long petioles, which is characteristic of Palmer, not so much of water hemp and redroot pigweed. And then if you look at the leaves, they had that sort of typical diamond shape, and I'll show you redroot pigweed and water hemp here in a minute. It's not always easy to tell water hemp from Palmer at various stages of growth, but these are pretty typical Palmer plants. And what I have, as I'm looking at this, this group right here have been sprayed with both a 1x and a 4x rate of glyphosate. So our 1x rate is like 22 ounces of a Power Max, and you can see they're essentially all surviving very well. We have another population that's doing that as well. So between 2014 or 2013 into 14, our sample collection, we've started to find glyphosate resistance as well as ALS resistance, and the spotting on here is due to adjuvants and some other things. So we've got ALS resistance, and then also sort of a hint, this is a type of thing we have to redo to confirm, but a hint of resistance to FlexStar. So here's actually, we're seeing some variability. So on my left hand here is a plant treated with a 4x rate of FlexStar, but if I pull out another one, you can see one surviving a 4x rate of FlexStar, and then here's one surviving a 1x rate of FlexStar, that standard pint and a third. And then we have some that have actually died. So we're seeing some variability, but we're getting a hint that there's resistance to not only glyphosate and ALS inhibitors, but also PPO inhibitors or group 14 herbicides, which isn't surprising. I mean, there's been a lot of pressure put on populations after they develop glyphosate resistance. FlexStar is one of the primary tools, or FlexStar or Cobra, to control them. So one of the characteristics we know about both water hemp and especially water hemp, but also Palmer, is they tend to develop resistance to anything you throw at them fairly rapidly. Water hemp probably more so than Palmer amaranth.